Hi friends, Jim here, back in the shop, smoking a little Old Joe Krantz in my Bones sitter. So, drinking a little bit of water, trying to stay hydrated here. Here in Northern California, it's still hot. Forecast, hot. So this has been a very, very hot summer. One of the hottest we've had in the last 12 to 15 years. So been a little tough getting out in the shop. Get home from work and come out here and it's 93 or 94 degrees, and it's didn't take long before I'm back in the house. It's just too hot. So doing most of my work on the weekends, trying to keep up with the commission. So doing pretty good. Just about got one finished off here. This one is a bit smooth tomato. Don't know if you can see it with the light. It's kind of a squat tomato, nice and wide. Got some nice grain all the way around it. Hope that grain comes through for you. Got a faux bone shank cap on it, black ebonite stem. So nice Danish style squat tomato. Got kind of a red tint to it. So just finishing that one off. Little bowl coat, little bowl coating, and final buff, and it's ready to ship on Monday. So customer ordered a smooth tomato. Well, I showed one before. This is the first one where I had all the blims and everything on the back side of it. That's one. Started number two, working on it, and saw a bunch of blims in the bottom. Took a needle, shoved it up in there, and it went up in there about 3 inches or so. So that one's junk. Block number three is across the shop somewhere. That one got thrown against the wall. That one kind of ticked me off. It was bad block too. Had bad fissures and blims in it, so it was useless. So I guess lucky number four came through for me. So I was hell bent on getting a smooth, and the other three I couldn't even make pipes to sell. They were just bad blocks. So that's the luck of the draw. Got them all out of the way. Maybe, hopefully I'll be good for the next 6 months. I won't have another one. But other than that one, I'm also working on a bent bulldog. It's going to be blasted. Tomorrow I'll cut the stem, get it all shaped out, and then I'll go ahead and cut the diamond shank on the pipe, and then I'll go ahead and blast it. So working on that one. Got some interesting pipes coming up. I've got a freehand sitter I'll be working on. It'll be blasted. And got a bent brandy billiard type pipe that's supposed to be a sitter. It'll sit on the shanks, so it'll have a nice wide shank. And then got a straight pot shape, straight stack billiard, and a blasted bing, Dunhill style craggy blasted bing. I'm going to be working on probably towards the end of August. So those are the pipes that are coming up, and that led me to, well, I'll show you what I do when I get my blocks and start picking blocks. So all my blocks I square up on a 12-inch sander. That does two things. That makes sure that when I grab it in the jaws, it's holding it straight. So it makes it a little easier for me. I'm a welder by trade. I deal in right angles, so for me, if it's a nice flat block, when I chuck it up, it's gonna spin true. So I don't do a lot of freehand drilling with the shaping first. Going to start working on more of that when I get done with the commissions. I'll roll over and I'm going to start doing that after the first of the year, work on that. But this one here, I was probably going to make that sitting freehand. And I started looking at the grain on this one, and of course this one's got some really nice grain on it. Get it wet here. So I don't think I'm gonna be blasting that one. That grain's just too nice, and I mean it's carrying it. It's got some nice flame grain and pretty straight grain on the other side too. So even the grain on the end of it's pretty good. Usually with a block, if you get good grain on one side and good grain on the end, you're going to be able to make a nice pipe out of it. You get some really good grain. If you're carrying it on both sides and the end, then yeah, that's a really nice block. And this is a grade 2 from Mimo. And I'm going to save this one for trying to get a smooth out of it, because it's super nice. Matter of fact, I'll probably make that bent brandy or bent billiard sitter out of this one, because Manny said he wanted a smooth pipe, and if not, go ahead and blast it, but this is going to make a nice smooth pipe, so I'll probably keep that one for him. So since I'm going to be doing a blasted pipe, I don't want to use up a real nice block that has good grain showing. Now this is a grade 3 block. Who knows, it might surprise me when I start working on this one, but I don't think so. Looking at it, the grain is okay. It's got some pretty nice grain on it. Well, when you wet it, it looks even better. But if you look close, you can see the ring grain on it. I don't know if you can see that ring grain going through there with the vertical lines. It's got the ring grain on both sides, and this is a grade 3 block. It won't have very good bird's eye, because you can see the top, all the bumps are bird's eye, and those bumps which you're looking for are small and real tight together, and you'll get really nice bird's eye on it. Whereas this one here, it's not going to have really good bird's eye. It's mediocre at best, because it's just kind of far apart, so it won't look real nice as a smooth. It's got some nice grain on it when you look at this one, and it's tempting to try and make a smooth pipe out of it, but all you gotta do is look at the end, and it's bald. It's got hardly any grain on it. And I found with blocks like that, when you don't have grain on the end, usually on the front and back of the pipe, it will have bald spots. It won't have much grain on them, and it looks kind of crappy. You might have some nice grain on either side, and then bald on the front and back, and it looks kind of crappy, so you end up having to blast it. So this one here, I'll probably make that freehand sitter out of. So that's a nice block. I've also got a gentleman that wants a blasted lavaud, and this is a grade 3 block, and I've learned my lesson. When you look at that grain right there, see how thick that grain is? When you stain it with the understained contrast stain and you go to sanding on it, it's kind of a blob. Okay, now the other side, it's a little bit better, but not much better on that. So you're not going to be making a smooth pipe out of this one. This is going to be a blast. And when you look at it, you can see the ring grain on the end and on both sides. So I'm probably going to make a lavaud out of this one. Generally my lavauds are a little bit shorter than other makers. Total length on mine are usually about 5 inches. So a 3.5 inch length out of it is fine. So this one here, I could either make a blasted Bing or a blasted lavaud out of it. Matter of fact, I might do that Bing out of this one. I don't know, this grain's a little tight on this one. When someone tells me they want a craggy blast on it, I'm looking for some wide ring grain on it, so that when I hit it with the blaster, it really gets nice and craggy. Now this one here, this is a nice block. This is a grade 3 block, very light, does not have very good plateau on the top for bird's eye. You can see it kind of big bumps here and there with some smaller bumps, kind of spaced out. It's not going to have good grain when you see that, and you know it going in. But when you wet this block, I'm hoping you can see this on the camera. You can see that ring grain on there, and it's kind of spaced out on there. And as it right through here, it's a little bit tight, but as it gets up there, it starts to spread out. And you can see it on the end too. You can see that ring grain spreading out and on the other side. So this one right here is going to make a really nice blasted pipe. Nice and craggy. I can flip that over. I know I can get a billiard, maybe a Bing out of it, because Bing's going to have a little bit longer shank on it. And when I blast that baby up, it's going to be nice and craggy. It's going to look really cool. So that's some of the stuff I'm looking for on blocks. I pulled this Algorian block out. I've got some large Algorian blocks in there, and they've been drying for, let's see here, I've been drying for probably about 8 months now, so they're getting close to being ready to start making pipes out of them. I pulled this baby out just to show you some grain on this one here. That one's got some really nice grain on it. This one's going to make a really nice, beautiful bent pipe. You can see all that grain in there. So when I go to stain it, I'll get some really nice contrast. I'll get some nice flame grain in there. Carrying it on both ends. So real nice tight grain on the top. Can't see it too well because it's still got the bark on there and some dirt. When I start peeling that out of there, I can see it, I can feel it. It's got a lot of really small bumps on there, and they're all really nice tight together. So that's going to make some really nice bird's eye. So for this one here, I could even do a sitting freehand Dublin style type pipe and take the plateau off the top, kind of dome it, and make some really pretty bird's eye on that. So looking forward to using this block. I got some other pipes lined out, like a stack on this one here, so it's ready to go. And I've got a pot shaped out on this one here. This one's number 2, and it has decent grain, not even really good grain on the side here, but it's got some really nice ring grain, and it carries it all the way through. If I were to wet it, you can see the ring grain coming through here, and it carries it along the front and then down the side here also. That's going to make a beautiful blast on this one here. I'm really looking forward to blasting this pipe here. And on the stack here, I don't know if you can see that ring grain, but you can see all the vertical lines on this one. Yeah, when that one gets blasted up, it's going to be nice too, and it carries it right around the front and then right around the side. So these blast up real nice too. You think of blasted pipe, most pipe makers, they try to make a smooth pipe and something goes wrong, you get some blims, grain goes away, you end up blasting it, and a lot of times you're working with a block with some really nice grain on it. Well, that means your ring grain is tight, real tight, and it's tough to blast and make really stand proud. And it looks nice and it smokes fine, but when I'm blasting up a pipe, I usually like a little deeper, craggier blast. Some people like a really light blast, and if I'm doing a commission pipe and someone tells me that, I'm looking for something with that tight grain on it. Because when I blast it up with the light blast, those smaller, tight rings will pop out and look good. If you get one that has really wide rings on it for grain, ring grain, and you blast it really light, it doesn't really do much. It looks kind of blah. So, plus the understain on a contrast stain blast with that tight rings and a shallow blast, the grain really pops out with the contrast stain. So you got to think of a lot of things. What am I shooting for? Am I shooting for, you know, something craggy, something light blast? Do I want ring grain showing and with the regular contrast grain behind it, so it's going to be a lighter two-tone pipe? A lot of stuff you got to think about when you're blasting. It's not just, hey, grab a block and blast it up. And I wanted to share that with you because I knew it before, and I kind of halfway planned for it, but after talking to Jim Cook, J.T. Cook Pipes, at the Chicago Pipe Show this year, he opened my eyes, and we started talking about blocks and grain and what to look for. And I feel like I'm choosing my blocks better. Right now I'm tied up with commission pipes probably the next 5 or 6 months. I'll be able to make probably maybe 6 or 7 pipes for Vegas, so I'll have a few for sale in Vegas, but otherwise I'm doing mostly commission pipes. And I think what I learned there really helps me plan on the pipes, the commission pipes that I'm working on and what I'm looking for. So I just wanted to share that with you. I thought it was interesting, so something to think about. So other than that, I'm taking a little break, smoking a bowl, gonna eat some lunch here and try and stay cool. It's supposed to be 104 again today, so anyway, have a good weekend, be well, stay smoky.